Sorry, you suck. Love that. Yeah, technology, and it gets us frustrated, which, that'll be a good topic for the show today. So I had a great listener email that I want to read and help out. And by the way, I had a nice email from our previous listener question from Marcy, so I'm going to read that on the show. But how are you guys doing? And how are you doing, Brett?
Hello, howdy. How's it going? What's new? What's happening? Tell me everything. My nose is itchy. Ugh. But I will persevere. It's a minor inconvenience, isn't that what we say, Tom?
That's right. Just a minor incontinence. I mean, inconvenience.
Hey, sat
Yeah.
in my bathroom.
All right. Let's start off with some really good stuff. We had helped Marcy last week or last episode, and she sent an email to follow up. And I really like this. This was touching. So she said, I just wanted to say thank you for the awesome, comprehensive video response by you and Brett. It has definitely given me some things to think about and some ways to address my concerns. I am more hopeful that I can indeed make a difference. Again, thank you.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
You're very welcome, Marcy. Glad that we could assist.
We love feedback, and of course, we're humans, so we love good feedback.
All right. But we'll
We
take
want
the bad
feedback
too. Hey,
regardless.
hey, we can't be therapists this long and have thin skin. So, hey, you want to tell us that we're stupid? Okay. Get
Well,
in.
because oftentimes, we do get good feedback from people, expressing that they've helped. So I'm not saying that that doesn't happen, but more times than not, people get better and they go on and they
Mhm,
live great, productive, happy lives, and we don't ever hear about them because they're out being and doing,
mhm, mhm.
like
The
enjoying the fruits
ones,
of their labor and our labor and helping, and we never get to hear about it. So more so than not, that's the case.
right.
And those that we don't hear from, we just assume and hope and
Mhm.
pray that they're actually out there killing it. So,
I remember a situation years ago. And it was so funny. This young woman came to me so flat. I mean, just depressed, I mean, just flat, depressed, couldn't even muster some emotions. She was really, really struggling. And saw her every week for months and certainly made some improvements. Her flatness was gone. She was engaging. She was participating back in life. She was, reconnecting with friends and family and,
mhm.
finding some little pieces of joy here and there. But, it's a journey, it's a road. And about 2 months in, she came in and she's like, "This has been the biggest waste of time, and I can't believe that I have sat in front of you for 2 months and you haven't helped me one bit, and you just suck, and you're the worst therapist, and I
Yeah.
just you d" and she just, like, went off on me, and I'm just sitting
Mm.
there, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm sorry you feel that way," and I said, and she's like, "I'm just gonna go because this is such a waste of time," and I said, "Okay, can I point out one thing before you go? And then, I'll push you on your way." Do you remember how you were 2 months ago where you could barely put out 4 words, when you sat in front of me? And I had to pry information for you and just sat with you sometimes when you were sitting in silence because you had nothing to say. And now you're angry. That's good. It's emotion. You've got life back in you and whatever. And she's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, whatever." And she got up and stormed. I'm
Yeah.
like, "Okay."
Yeah, well, we'll take it. All right. There was an
And
improvement. There was a
I
change.
don't need the validation. I can see the improvements for you, so, you know.
Right. And we don't have to take credit for any of that. I mean, just the
No,
fact
it
that,
had nothing to do with me. She did all the work.
yeah. So, so there's been some things that have produced some anger and frustration in us, but also in the people that we serve and sort of a trend out there. So this ties into our topic for the show today. And this comes from an email from a gentleman who reached out and talking about some trending things and wanted to know if that could be useful or helpful for him. So, salute. Let's get into it.
Excuse me.
Yeah, let's get into it. And I think that'll lead our podcast episode in talking about releasing anger and frustration and how to come to terms with that, especially when we have this learned helplessness. Like there's things that we just cannot control, and it's Frustrating to say the least. All right,
All
let's
right.
pull this up. Okay. Hot diggity dog. Hot dog. Hot dog. Technology. Boy, I feel like I'm working for it a lot of the times
Yeah, no kidding.
instead of it working for me.
It makes our life so much easier.
Mhm. Okay, this is from Marcus. Marcus is 34. He allowed me to utilize this information. Doesn't seem like there's anything specific in it, so I'll just read you the email. I've been following your podcast for a while now and really appreciate the way you break things down with humor and with heart. I'm writing in with something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. I keep seeing videos online of people doing things like rage rooms, smashing plates and throwing axes, screaming into the void, all being framed as a form of therapy. There's even
Mm.
this trend called scream therapy where people go out into nature or just in their car and just let it out. Some people say it helps them release anger and feel lighter afterward, while others say it's just performative or even makes them feel worse. As someone who's struggling with bottled up anger for years, I was raised to just suck it up. Yeah, us too. And stay calm. I'm curious, is this kind of explosive release actually helpful for mental health, or is it just another TikTok trend that's getting overhyped? Trying to learn better ways to
That's
process anger without hurting myself or others. And I'd love to hear your take on the science, psychology, and what actually works. So, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Marcus, for sending that in. I'm grateful that you're listening, and let's dissect that today.
for sure. That's a great question. I haven't thought about this, heard about it. Maybe that's not in my algorithm on my TikTok, but I haven't seen the trend. I haven't even heard people talking about it in quite some time. Historically, there was the big debate. I mean, even 20 years ago, 30 years ago, about, you know, that it was that it was a popular back then. And there was a lot of professionals that came out that were poo-pooing the whole thing, saying,
Yeah.
listen, all you're doing is you're creating a reward system in your brain for to express anger, physically, or screaming, rage rooms, hitting pillows. I remember back then they had those little bats for couples, like those little red
Yeah.
bats. Remember that they would beat each other with these.
Right.
So what back then the theory was is they were using it, but then it kind of got shut down, or they got away from it because it's creating a reward system. So
Yeah.
you're reinforcing that reward system in your brain that when you express anger, and frustration physically, that your brain gets a reward for it. And that's really like not the long-term solution. But
Right.
man, that's old school. But what do you think, Tom?
Okay. Here's my take on things. We lift weights.
Oh,
And when we lift weights, we take out a lot of that built up aggression. Because I mean, we're as Gen Xers, we were raised to as men, you've got to be stoic. You can't wear your emotions on your sleeve. You've got to be cool and calm and have it
mhm,
together all the time. Well, I mean, that just doesn't work, and that's not good to keep those things bottled up. So we release it with weight training,
mhm,
weightlifting. And this morning hitting that deadlift, man, I'm hooting and hollering and screaming and, like battling inner demons and all and all that.
mhm,
And I feel better afterwards. So I think in the immediate, it's a nice release. However, it needs to be a structured thing. So I think it can be really good at like a rage room. I've never done a rage room, but I've definitely smashed shit before, and that feels really good. So I think that it can be really helpful, but it's not the end all and be all. I think
mhm,
because if you're only focused on just releasing that pent up aggression like that, you're never dealing with maybe the reasons why, you're feeling angry, the underlying emotions. You're not dealing with the antecedent or, like, so I think there's benefit in being able to uncover what's really going on and why you're feeling triggered, rageful, angry at whatever the situation is or whatever the person is. So the instant gratification of just releasing that can be really good if
mhm.
it's a structured thing or if you do it every once in a while, but also as long as you're finding ways to trigger some parasympathetic nervous system, some peace and serenity, some mindfulness, some meditation, some calmness in yourself. Those are excellent coping strategies. And also finding why that's happening. Why are you getting so bent out of shape over whatever it is going on? So that's sort of a long-winded answer. So I think they're good. I think rage rooms can be really good. I wish there were a lot more of them, but it's not the solution. Can
Hmm.
be therapeutic in that moment, but ultimately, we've got to do some other work instead.
Right. No, I agree. And you bring up a great point. We rage room every morning in your garage.
Yeah.
By throwing around, what are you guys doing? We pick up heavy weights, we put it down, and then we pick it up again. And
Yeah.
rinse and repeat.
Hmm. Yeah.
And and when we were younger, we played baseball, we played football. I was a wrestler back then, and man, there was a lot of rage that was being expressed out on the fields. I remember football, you little kids in pads, and we were messing each other up. I
Mm.
mean, it
Yeah.
was so I think we used to have more outlets for that before we emotionally matured, as kids, as teenagers, whatever, and even young adults that before our whole executive functioning developed and able to think through things a little bit and process, those were very helpful for us. Take how many times did you hear take it out on take your anger out on the field and all that kind of stuff as kids,
Yeah.
and we did that, and I think that that's okay. And like you said, rage rooms, you know what? There's a lot of interventions that aren't the best solution in the long run, but if they can get you through over the hump while you do the work, as you say, Tom, the same thing with medications. When people talk to me about depression, anxiety, different medications, I'm like, well, some people do have to take medications for the rest of their lives, and that's just how it's going to be for them. But medications are, it's not that way for everybody. Sometimes you can take them for a while to get over the hump so that you can do the work to figure out to figure it all out, to process all that information, and develop new, better, more adaptive coping skills and strategies that will work for you better in the long run. So,
Yes.
is it okay to go to a rage room instead of punching your brother in the face? Probably.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
are you still doing that, 2 years from now? Well, that could be a problem.
Well, I've had young people, teenagers, and with their parents, and they said, I just need like a way to release anger. And they talk about like a punching bag. And so I'm
Mhm.
going to just use this as a way to illustrate,
Right.
the message I want to send, a punching bag. And then so I say, well, here's the design of that. Okay, you get a punching bag. If you can do that as a structured activity, every night at 7 p.m., let's say, arbitrary time. Okay, 7 p.m. Every night you go out there for 20, 30 minutes and you hit the bag. Whether you're feeling angry or not, you go out there and you get some exercise and you punch the bag, maybe you work on different swings or, you knee it, you elbow it, you punch it, you kick it, whatever. Okay. You do that every single day. Then that gives you an outlet for that bound up energy. It's not dealing with whatever the problem is, but it's a nice way to release it. The opposing view that I don't want to have happen is whenever you're angry, you go out and hit the punching bag because this builds aggression and the need to do damage or hurt or punch something or whatever. So if whenever you're angry, your parent says, "We'll go out and hit the punching bag to go release it," then that's not necessarily good. If you're feeling angry to go to a rage room because you're feeling angry and go smash shit, that's not necessarily good. But if you use it as a structured activity,
Hmm.
rage room, maybe you do that once a month, or the punching bag, you do that every night at 7 p.m., then that can be a really helpful thing. Once again,
Hmm.
it's not dealing with whatever the actual problem is. It's just a way to release that built up energy, which can be helpful because then it can help you get to actually the root cause of what's going on. So I don't want it to build aggression that whenever I'm feeling this way, I need to go immediately release it by punching something. Because if you don't have the punching bag, you're going to punch whoever's around you,
Right. Right.
whether that's verbally or physically or whatever.
Yeah, no, I agree, but everything is relative and everyone starts in a different place. So let's say that my current functioning is when I have these fits of rage that I'm breaking stuff and I'm going through the house and tipping the furniture over and throwing stuff across the room and breaking windows and breaking TVs. At that point, I would say yes, go into the garage and hit the punching bag instead of destroy the house.
Harm reduction, right?
Harm reduction, right? But there's an end to that. So, okay, we will do that for a month while you go to therapy once or twice a week to
Right.
really work on all the underlying issues and figure out better strategies of doing that. And the
Yeah.
goal is in a month, it's not going to be, a PRN punching bag. It's going to be, or a punching bag as you need it. It's going to be a structured activity as Tom described. That's how I see it.
Sure, we have the barbells and the kettlebells in the mornings,
Hmm.
but I want you to get to a place where you're releasing that built up energy in some constructive, healthy ways that can promote some peace. Because I mean, if you're angry and frustrated, what's the opposite of that? Calm, peace, serenity, joy, those types of feelings. So you maybe feel lighter after you smash something or do some damage or exert some energy, but do you necessarily feel peaceful? No, you just feel tired.
Right.
So I want you to find a way to engage in some meditation or some meditative act, whether that's actually meditating or whether that's going for a nice long walk or doing yoga or doing Tai Chi or whatever,
Mm,
or getting a, a nice warm or bath or, like something to calm your nervous system because we don't want our nervous system to be turned on the fight or flight. Because when you're out there smashing something, you're sympathetic fight or flight.
yeah,
We don't
that's
want to
right.
overwhelm your nervous system too much. We want to
Right.
relax things.
And practice, how you relax things.
Yeah.
Different ways to relax things and different ways to do it, under different circumstances.
Yeah.
I can do something when I'm at home. I have more options when I'm at home than maybe when I'm at work or, going into a meeting or in my car, kinds of things. So
Yeah.
different situations for sure.
You've had some, so thank you, Marcus, for sending in your question. I hope that that was helpful. I know we didn't give a full, robust response, but I think maybe that gives you some ideas of some things to do and how to
Sure.
use it effectively, and
Right.
screaming, like screaming in your car. I have a lady that she does that whenever she feels overwhelmed. She just sits in her car and just screams, and that helps her. And I've expressed, hey, maybe if you did that at a certain day, at a certain time, maybe a structured way of doing that could be more helpful. And she's just like, no, I just want to fucking scream in my car and get it out. And then, okay.
Yeah. I mean, harm reduction, different strokes for different folks. Everybody's different. What works for one person doesn't work for somebody else. So you got to figure out what works for you, but, realize in the long run is you want to resolve these things so these things don't bother you, anymore anyway. That you can calmly, peacefully, mindfully resolve these inner struggles. But hey, if this is working for you in the meantime, hey, I'm do the ends justify the means? I don't know if I'd go that far, but yeah, different strokes for different folks.
And thank you, Marcus, again. And also for the men out there, it's okay to show your emotions. You don't
Mhm.
you don't have to keep that stuff bottled up.
Men
Keep in
don't cry,
mind that
Tom. Men don't cry. Stop crying. I'll give you something to cry about.
yeah.
That's what we grew up with.
Well, and that's the caveat to that is that even if you feel comfortable expressing your emotions and you do and you become more emotionally intelligent, that doesn't mean that people have to honor or accept or like they
Whatever.
whatever form of judgment over you, but that's okay. I mean,
Right.
uh,
I heard this quote, and I've seen it before, but and I forgot it, but it just saw it again about a month ago, and I think about it all the time, and I've repeated this so many times lately. You wouldn't let a stranger redecorate your house. Why would you let a stranger redecorate your thoughts?
mhm. Like what?
What do you care what other people think, say, do, particularly if you don't even know them?
Yeah.
or don't, have a casual acquaintance with them, right? I mean, we take more stock sometimes in what our friends and family say, but again, why would you wouldn't let your mother or your mother-in-law into your house and redecorate your house? So why are you letting them redecorate your thoughts?
Definitely not, because if my mother-in-law redecorated our house, there'd be fucking Amish shit all over the place.
Damn ducks.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Get these damn ducks out my house.
So anyway, there are things that promote anger, and we're seeing some things that are promoting anger, especially in the political arena. We're not going to dive into that, but you had mentioned before we started recording, and I don't know if we, talk more about this either today or in future podcasts, but this like people just aren't following the rules.
No. It's like the rules are out the window, and people are caught up and I think it boils down to like it's not right, it's not just, it's not justice. I can't believe that XYZ is allowed to do this, that you can't do that. That's against the social norms, it's against the rules. And
Right.
and I'm like, well, why do you care what XYZ does? It's not right. I can't do that. Well, you could do that, but you want to live with those consequences or the perceived consequences. And what is justice anyway? I mean, we have this moral superiority about what it is that's supposed to happen. No, it's not just. And people get away with things they shouldn't get away with and do things that they shouldn't do. But what does that mean to you? Why does that bother you so much?
Yeah.
And that's where I attack it. It's like, put the outside world on pause. What is it? What's that stirring up within you?
Right. But that goes back to understanding what it is that's causing you to feel those things
Right.
and dealing with that,
Mhm.
not worrying
It's
about what other people are doing.
right. It's not right. No, okay, it's
Life's
not
not
right.
fair.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
Who told you life is supposed to be fair? It's not. Life
Yeah,
is
it's not.
not fair.
Mhm. Life's about
Yeah,
choices.
yeah. And people think fairness is everyone getting the same thing.
Mm.
And I would say that fairness is more is everybody gets what they need, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you take a group of 10 people from all different, all strata of socioeconomic um, things, from the very poor to the very wealthy, and you have $10. Is it fair to give everybody a dollar? Well, and some people may think that that's the fairest way to do that. But
Yeah.
other people think maybe fairness is that maybe the ultra wealthy doesn't need a dollar. So let's not give them a dollar that doesn't make a difference to them. Where that
Yeah.
extra dollar to the very poor might, and I don't, and this is not a political thing. I'm not trying to turn this into a whole, socialism, communism, Marxism
Yeah.
kind of thing. And there was just an example about a dollar and whatever. Could be the same thing with you got 10 dogs, right? And you got 10 pounds of food. Does every dog get a pound of food? Well, you've got a Great Dane and you got a Chihuahua. Do
Right.
they
They get what they need.
get what they need?
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, that should stir up some controversy.
Ooh. All right. Send in your comments and questions. Tackle that.
Brett's a socialist. Holy crap! Let's kill.
Here's a fun here's a fun I don't even know what to call it. Um you know how there's changes, in each generation. You remember we had a phrase growing up, we still use it. I'm gonna go crash out.
Hmm.
And, I mean, what does that mean to you?
Just means spin. I mean, I'm out. I'm frustrated. I'm gonna crash out. I can't take it. And I'm just gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose my shit. Isn't that what it is?
Really? No
I'm gonna lose
shit.
my shit.
Oh wow. Because I had always come to use that phrase as I'm about to crash, like I'm dog tired.
Yeah.
I'm about to crash out. I'm about to fall asleep or pass out or whatever. I'm about to crash. I need to find somebody's place to crash at,
Mhm.
So I heard it has been repurposed to mean exactly what you said, that I'm
Yeah.
about to lose my shit right now. So maybe it's not being repurposed. Maybe that was always the thing, and I was in error at thinking.
Now that you bring it up, Tom, I mean, crash out was always go to sleep. I get it. I'm
I
not,
just go to sleep.
yeah, yeah. No, I, you're now that you bring it up, I think you're right. That's how we always used it back then. But it's been like the popular trend now. I'm gonna
Yeah.
crash out. So
Yeah,
I
that
guess
well, so young people are saying I'm about to
yeah,
crash out. I'm about to
yeah,
crash or whatever, and that means like
yeah,
I'm gonna destroy shit. I'm gonna wreck shit. I'm gonna fucking go bananas, and
right,
I was like, oh, okay, had never heard that before.
yeah.
So like
Now,
I heard kids say I'm gonna crash. I'm about to crash. I was like, you tired? But like, you getting some sleep or what?
right,
No, I'm gonna like destroy the house and stuff. Like,
yeah,
what?
exactly,
What? What is it? Oh, okay. It didn't mean what I think it means then.
right. Have we finally reached the age, Tom, where we're saying, "Oh, those damn kids"?
Get off the grass.
Get
Get
out of my yard.
out of my yard.
Uh,
Pesky kids. I
yeah,
guess so. I guess we're there, man.
yeah, that's all right.
So hopefully you guys out there aren't crashing out, or if you are, then you find some helpful, therapeutic, and constructive ways of doing
Right,
that. And please send in your questions and comments to us, and we'll tackle them. Whatever this episode has stirred up for you, we are here to help.
all right. Tom,
Good.
it's good to see you.
Same. Great to see you. Thank you for today.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll see you soon.
All righty.